TV and 89.3 WBLD Orchard Lake, West Bloomfield, Kego Harbor, Sylvan Lake, 89.3 Lakes FM. It's the Megacast, an hour-long TV and radio streaming show keeping you informed on the day-to-day news. Live from West Bloomfield, we're bringing you the news, updates, and information impacting communities around Michigan. Join our host, Tyler Kieft, as he talks with community members, business leaders, and professional experts about the stories that impact you. You're watching the Megacast on Civic Center TV. Stop by West Bloomfield Town Hall June 14th and get your health in check at the 14th Annual Greater West Bloomfield Health and Wellness Fair. Over 40 businesses, organizations, and vendors take the time to showcase healthy practices, tips, and resources for the community. Young or old, there's something for everyone and everybody. 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Wednesday, June 14th, the 14th Annual Greater West Bloomfield Health and Wellness Fair. This community update from Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM.
There are many different kinds of noses. Our noses can sniff out all kinds of things. Good things and bad things. Your nose knows if those sniffles are just a cold, allergies, or COVID-19. So swab it. Test it. It's good to know.
When the temperatures are chilly, being together warms the soul. Keep the winter fun going. Help protect yourself and those around you by keeping your COVID-19 vaccines up to date.
I'm Steve Eiserman of the Detroit Red Wings, and I think every child in Michigan deserves a safe, healthy, and happy childhood. Can we build a state where Children Trust Michigan isn't just a name, but something our kids believe? Please support Children Trust Michigan as the voice for children and families by visiting the website to learn more.
You're listening to your radio homes for the Megacast, 89.3 WBLD Orchard Lake and 88.1 WBFH Bloomfield Hills. Today's edition of the Megacast begins now. Welcome to the Megacast, our live daily TV, radio, and streaming show looking into all things Michigan. I'm Tyler Kieft. Today we'll be talking to a number of people about topics of interest and importance to Michiganders just like you. Let's begin with what's making headlines on our local news page on civiccentertv.com. Our top story comes from Mark Torregrossa at MLive. Prepare yourself for a treacherous weather Wednesday here in southeastern Michigan. Forecasts for Wednesday are showing a high risk of severe weather for the afternoon, with thunderstorms and hail expected to be present as temperatures soar to over 70 degrees following today's more temperate weather forecast. Expected during the daylight hours, large hail, damaging winds, and the possibility of tornadoes as well are in the forecast for tomorrow's severe weather. But let's let Torregrossa enlighten us with what some of the terminology used in this article actually means. As I've said before on the show, knowing what you are hearing about in the news, especially in regards to severe weather, is vital in understanding how to prepare for what is coming. So, directly from MLive's article on our local news page from Mark Torregrossa, quote, severe means thunderstorms with damaging wind gusts of 58 miles per hour or more, 1 or more inch diameter hail, and or a tornado of any strength. Significant severe weather means, significant severe thunderstorm means a thunderstorm with damaging wind gusts of 75 miles per hour or greater with 2+ inch diameter hail, and or a tornado of EF2 or greater strength. So reading through this article, you'll find Torregrossa forecasts the weather pattern to have potential to be at or in between that severe and significant severe weather pattern on Wednesday afternoon and into the evening. exploring other publications, as I always would urge you to do in the case of any sort of a news story, to get a full scope of the information and get information from different angles and different investigations that have been done from a number of different journalists and a number of different publications. Per the Detroit Free Press and their weather report for tomorrow, the worst of the storm system is expected between 2 p.m. and 8 p.m. as a cold front will create what Jenna Prestonzinski of the Detroit Free Press in her report describes as, quote, wild weather. This partially stems from a significant jump in temperatures from today's forecast, which calls for a high of 52, and tomorrow that calls for highs upwards of 72 degrees. That, with the conditions of stormy weather, create an opportunity for severe weather to pick up steam as it comes into our state and comes into that cold front and have a big impact in the areas that are affected, because those storm systems tend to have that severity grow when there are significant changes in weather from hot to cold, from low humidity to high humidity. That can create a number of different scenarios in which the severe weather patterns are able to pick up some power, pick up some severity, and have a big impact on our local area. So this is something to definitely keep an eye on, to go through this article on our local news page, to check in regularly on TV and on the radio, on other news outlets in our local area throughout the day. We'll do our best also to keep you updated on any information specific to the greater West Bloomfield area for our flagship at Civic Center TV, and as well as throughout Oakland County if other areas of our county are expected to be significantly affected by these storms. We know that typically in southeastern Michigan, particularly in the lower parts of Oakland County, this severe weather, especially tornadic activity, is not something we typically see, but it's not something we're unfamiliar with either. Here in the lower parts of Oakland County, especially around the greater West Bloomfield area where we originate our broadcast. But in northern parts of Oakland County, as we get closer to the mid-Michigan area, places like Clarkston, places like Lake Orion, they tend to be in that range of, hey, you might want to be looking out for some of these storms, and in the past, these tornadoes. That's not necessarily what this forecast is calling for at this time, or may be calling for in the future. But we do know that as you get further north and toward that mid-Michigan area, toward more of the rural parts of southeastern Michigan and of lower Michigan, really, you're in a much more opportune spot for severe weather and tornadoes to have a massive impact in these sorts of situations. We think back to last summer, some of the severe weather and tornado warnings that did come through. Oakland County experienced some at least one tornado warning because of severe weather of that kind in the northern part of our local area, just outside of Oakland County and heading toward that northern Oakland County area. And that's all it takes in the case of a tornado warning, is to have a tornado that has either touched down in your county or has touched down near your county and maybe traveling into that area, whether you're in the far southwestern tip of Oakland County or right up in the thick of things. If something's coming through, for example, in northern Oakland County, regardless of where you're at in the county itself, if there is tornadic activity that's expected in the county imminently, that will be included in a tornado warning. You will be under a tornado warning. But again, I digress. The most important thing here is to understand that there is severe weather oncoming for Wednesday. It's going to happen during the daytime. It's going to happen right in that late afternoon, mid-afternoon to late afternoon and through the evening. So it's going to affect your commute. It's going to affect you picking up your kids from school or after school activities. Those may get canceled by your school districts locally, depending on their reading of the forecasts, their projections, the importance of those events, whether they're indoors or outdoors, certainly going to have a massive impact. We even know here in West Bloomfield yesterday, just the rain alone cut off their baseball game at West Bloomfield High School between West Bloomfield and Royal Oak after about 3 innings because of just the rain alone. There's severe weather. Of course, in high school, you're playing with metal bats. Metal, not exactly conducive for safety in the situation where you have thunderstorms and potential thunder and lightning, especially, of course, the lightning angle of things. Even in the fall, when we have lightning in the area, you'll see football games be delayed for at least an hour per lightning strike. That's pretty much that regulation across the board in MHSAA sports. But other activities may also be canceled outdoors. You can maybe expect some power outages too. So get yourself ready if you need some If you need to grab gasoline or natural gas of some kind, some containers like propane for your generators, might be a good day to do that today, this afternoon, before you get home, or if you're on a break and you have a chance to stop home today to make those preparations. Get to the grocery store or to the drugstore or somewhere else. Pick up some batteries if you need some extras, you need a refill in case you're in need of batteries for your flashlights, for your battery-powered radios. Have some resources available. Have that tornado spot ready in your home. If it's in your basement, if it's in a closet, if it's in the bathroom, have that ready with some food and some water, maybe some hard-covered books as well, just in case. Because, of course, preparation is about doing that work beforehand, and it makes it a lot easier to hear those tornado sirens go off, should that be the case, and get immediately to that spot with everything you need, than to scramble, not knowing if you have 5 minutes or 25 minutes or 50 minutes until some sort of massive severe weather could be in your local area. That preparation goes a long way. And of course, knowing what resources to look for. A great place to go is exploring with our friends at the National Weather Service serving the Detroit Pontiac area, their office out of White Lake. If you go to weather.gov, and put in your zip code at the top left of that page, you'll be able to see information specific to your generalized area, to your zip code, to your city. Another great way is to just kind of get a metropolitan area forecast also, and that is going to weather.gov/Detroit or weather.gov/DTX, DTX like X-ray. And you'll get information on forecasts, wind patterns, other sorts of watches, warnings, and advisories. Currently, for the Detroit area, there's a flood warning based on the last couple days of rain activity, small craft advisory due to some of the wind, as well as a hazardous weather outlook, presumably because of tomorrow's forecast for severe weather. This will be updated. There'll be more information coming through as we get closer to the point where this system is going to come through, but it's expected to have its biggest impact, at least according to current forecasts this morning from the Detroit Free Press, between 2 p.m. and 8 p.m. on Wednesday. So be prepared for some severe weather activity in our local area. Additionally, making headlines today from the Lansing State Journal's Mark Johnson, approaching 2 months since the deadly mass shooting at Michigan State University, the MSU police and the FBI are working to digitally retrace the steps of the 43-year-old shooter, as well as physically retrace some of those steps as well. The man who was killed late into the night on February 13th by a self-inflicted gunshot wound. In order to learn more about his path to MSU that night, that left a trail of blood, tears, and trauma in East Lansing and beyond. MSU Chief of Police Chris Rosman said his department has obtained the necessary warrants in order to look into this digital evidence related to the shooter. So why is this news now? Since February 13th was the day of the shooting, they knew who did it. They of course came in contact with the 43-year-old shooter and confronted him in Lansing late into the night on February 13th and early into the morning on Valentine's Day. They knew who this person was. Why haven't they gone through this information yet? Well, there's a process in order for police and other investigative units to obtain such information. Obviously, due to the Bill of Rights, you have to have a warrant. You cannot subject someone, even a dead person, to unlawful search and seizure. So you have to obtain a warrant to search anybody's property, including their digital property, in an investigation. Then beyond that, even if you get those warrants, it doesn't necessarily stop there, because you'll be able to access those devices, but to get all that information, what might be deleted posts, deleted text messages, deleted emails, and so on and so forth, that data that may still be out there and be able to be obtained, you usually at that point will have to go through those companies themselves, whether it be Google or Meta for Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, in order to obtain that information and show them that you have a warrant to obtain all that data relevant to your investigation. All of that takes time, and thus what you could call a delay in this case, as MSU's police department is now getting to information related to the February 13th shooting at Michigan State and the 43-year-old shooter who is now dead. How did he get there? What information was present in his digital footprint that could help them to understand why he did this? Obviously, it's going to be a lot tougher to figure out motive if someone presumably is working alone in this case and no longer is alive, but the digital information could show maybe somebody had helped him, whether purposefully or inadvertently on that night, even so much as maybe an Uber driver potentially, or a Lyft driver, something of that kind, a rideshare driver, maybe could have been called and driven him into the area out of Lansing and into East Lansing. Maybe he took the CATA bus stations, the Capital Area Transportation Authority, or CATA as it's known in that local area. Maybe he took one of those buses into the area. A lot of those buses do go between Lansing proper and MSU. The one bus goes up and down Grand River Avenue into the city of Lansing and into the city of East Lansing regularly throughout the day and into the evening. Could he have potentially have taken that? Is there a footprint that leads back to that physically from maybe a bus ticket or him purchasing a bus pass at some point and using that bus pass? Or maybe in the case of a rideshare, did he use an app? Did he call a taxi? Did he drive himself? Did he just walk the whole way? All of this can be traced in some cases digitally by that data on his phone or through email or through social media, and perhaps you find more information. That's where they're at this point in the investigation. Among the MSU department's questions, as I had said, how did the shooter get to MSU? Did he work alone in this or have maybe accomplices, whether they were purposeful accomplices and knew what was going on, or inadvertent, circumstantial, maybe a rideshare or taxi driver, somebody that encountered him along the way, somebody he called that night while he was in process of getting to Michigan State's campus. Did he go anywhere else in the area, whether in East Lansing or even on the MSU campus before he went into Berkey Hall and later, shortly after that, the MSU Union? Said Chief Rosman, this is like any other investigation into a homicide, stating, quote, "This is a homicide investigation. We are treating this as we would any other investigation of this magnitude. The fact that the suspect is deceased does not change anything at all with the actual investigation," and closed quote. The MSU Police Department continues to investigate this case and gather information in partnership with federal partners at the FBI. Also making headlines today from Bridge, Michigan's Jenner Brooker. Interesting news out of the city of Detroit. As you travel and explore the city, you may soon get a taste of history and of up north on the riverfront. Earlier this month, Detroit City Council person Angela Whitfield Calloway asked the Detroit Wayne Port Authority to explore connecting parts of the riverfront by ferry. This is over a decade after Detroit was awarded $2.4 million in federal grants to buy water taxis, or ferries, and run studies on feasibility and execution of such transportation in our state's largest city and one of its largest tourist attractions. Pardon me as I take a sip of water. Now, as part of the bipartisan infrastructure law passed in 2021, there is over $900 million available to state departments of transportation, $912 million to be exact, for ferry boats and other modes of transportation over the next 5 years, adding to the potential to see this mode of movement on the iconic Detroit riverfront sooner rather than later. Michigan already has called itself home to many iconic ferries, such as, of course, that on Mackinac Island and the Muskegon to Milwaukee, Wisconsin ferry, as well as the soon-to-be renovated docks and ferries heading to Beaver Island per a $6.6 million federal grant. This is really interesting because there's obviously so much to do in the city of Detroit. So much of that is centered on the riverfront, and even just exploring the Detroit skyline from the riverfront, looking over to Canada from the riverfront is really interesting. Being able to travel up and down that riverfront to various places could really be a big step forward for tourism and for activity in the city of Detroit. We know there's already great modes of transportation already there, from the People Mover. Of course, ride shares are available. There's a lot of fun that's also available via that transportation, whether it be mobile bars and so on that you typically see in the warmer months of the year. But having a ferry too on the waterfront could be another really big wrinkle in tourism in the city of Detroit, as well as travel for people that are going up and down various locations in the city via the river. That could be a huge step forward. Really interesting article with details on how the city of Detroit's gotten to this point where they could be going, potentially putting ferries on the riverfront, as well as some of that federal money that's been going toward these sorts of projects already in our state and could potentially help the city of Detroit get that next step moving forward and put some of these ferries and other water taxi vehicles on the Detroit River sooner rather than later. Really interesting story there. Take a look at that from our friends across the local area on our local news page on civiccentertv.com. Finally, making headlines today on our local news page from the Associated Press via the Detroit Free Press, Michigan is going to the moon. That's right, as NASA named 4 astronauts this week who will fly to the moon later this year, including 3 Americans and 1 Canadian. Christina Koch was among the names called. The Grand Rapids native already has quite the space resume, hailing the longest space flight by a woman. This is the first crew in NASA's new Artemis program, named off of the twin sister of Apollo in Greek mythology. Apollo, of course, the iconic original moon travel program through NASA that went to the moon in the 20th century. When asked about the mission, Koch said, "Am I excited? Absolutely. But my real question is, are you excited?" It's the first moon crew in over 50 years for NASA. It's the first time that they'll include they'll include international astronauts, not just Americans on this trip, with it being 3 American astronauts and 1 Canadian on this 4-person crew, one of those being from right here in the Great Lakes State. A great story there from our friends at the Associated Press, and we're glad that was something we were able to catch on the Detroit Free Press's website this morning. Highly encourage you to click through that article on our website and all those other articles at civiccentertv.com on our local news page. Lastly, before we get things rolling on today's edition of the Megacast, it is National Public Health Week, and our local government here in Oakland County kicked off their celebration of the week by reflecting on their past years of public health advocacy and work, and recognizing the dedicated health team at Oakland County and their partners in the local community. Obviously, it's been a wild last few years in the public health community. So much work has been done to protect our local area, to inform our local area, whether it be on COVID-19, various strains of the flu, Mpox, formerly known as monkeypox, and so on, all throughout Oakland County and beyond. Our public health officials and workers have been doing an amazing job to keep us informed on these various public health emergencies, and of course, to prevent these emergencies from becoming any more severe than they already had been at certain points in Oakland County. Let's take a look at this video directly from the Oakland County Government Office.
Hey everybody, I'm Dave Coulter, Oakland County Executive, and I'm here with our Health Director, Dr. Calandra Green, to celebrate National Public Health Week and to acknowledge our great public health team here in Oakland County. During the first full week of April each year, National Public Health Week is a time to recognize the contributions of public health departments and highlight issues that are important to improving our health. That's one of our top priorities in Oakland County, ensuring that our residents can get and remain healthy through access to affordable, quality health care. Let's talk a little bit about this past year, Calandra, and the achievements of our team here in Oakland County.
Absolutely. There is no doubt that COVID-19 has transformed our lives in the last few years. It brought continual change, challenges, and new successes. As we look at the past year, we see how we responded to emerging public health issues, but also recovered and re-engaged in the wake of the pandemic. Just a few things to highlight from the past year. Our response to the emerging Mpox virus outbreak through case investigation, giving vaccines, community outreach, and providing education. We successfully launched a harm reduction clinic at 148 North Saginaw Street in downtown Pontiac to prevent opioid overdoses, Hep C, HIV, and reduce hospital-associated infections. We continue to provide COVID-19 and flu vaccines in the clinics in our community. We helped address food insecurity through the county's food assistance programs and grants, our WIC supplemental program, senior market days, and providing prescriptions for food vouchers and for those in need.
Well, Calandra, if these past few years have taught us anything, it's how important our public health system is, not only during a crisis, but in providing accessible health care to residents. I want to give a shout out to our public health staff here at the Health Division for all your hard work and dedication. We also want to say thank you to all our community partners. Without your collaboration, none of this and more would be possible.
Yes, we have an amazing team here at the Health Division, and we couldn't do any of this work without them. If you are interested in finding out what our team does day to day, make sure you follow us at Public Health OC on Facebook and Twitter. We will be highlighting our staff in action on our social media channels all week so you can learn more about the different services that we offer here at the Health Division.
So, Calandra, what are some of the ways that people can check in on their own health during National Public Health Week?
We are hosting a free virtual baby safety fair this week. Caregivers are welcome to attend on Tuesday, April 4th from 10 to 11:30. The safety fair will include 6 short presentations about safety topics, including infant safe sleep, child passenger safety, postpartum depression and coping, and WIC program, and much more. Stay up to date with important health information and events by subscribing to Healthy Oakland newsletter. This is our public health newsletter that goes out once a month. Text Healthy Oakland at 468-311 to subscribe.
Well, thanks, Calandra. This is a great time to acknowledge and celebrate all the benefits and services offered by public health departments in Oakland County and across the country. And we hope you will take stock of your own health, not only during National Public Health Week, but all year long. Have a great day and stay healthy, Oakland County.
You can always keep up to date with more information on public health topics from the Oakland County Health Division by visiting their website at oakgov.com/health. Hey, there's also another great way to get to that website without having to remember oakgov.com/health. Go to our website on civiccentertv.com on our local news page and click on the link at the top of the page that reads Oakland County. That will take you to their COVID-19 specific public health web page, but it's right there on their community health page on oakgov.com, and you can also find updates on public health matters like COVID-19 and beyond from the CDC, the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services as well. We have a great show ahead on today's edition of the Megacast. Coming up next, some banks have had a lot of struggles of late. Is your money safe? That's a question a lot of people are asking. Is my money safe? What should I be doing with the money I have in the bank? One financial expert in our local area says yes, it is safe, and he'll explain why after this break. Stay tuned. You're watching and listening to the Megacast.
There are many different kinds of noses. Our noses can sniff out all kinds of things. Good things and bad things. Your nose knows if those sniffles are just a cold, allergies, or COVID-19. So swab it. Test it. It's good to know.
Can I ask you a question? Why do you want to get the COVID-19 vaccine?
I don't like getting sick. The virus will die. It will be easy to not catch it. Keep my family safe and keep playing soccer. Because I love being vaccinated.
What's your hope for everyone?
I hope everybody gets the vaccine to keep safe and strong. Be like happy, having fun everywhere. Everyone stay safe and hope you get the vaccine.
Welcome back to the Megacast, our live daily TV, radio, and streaming show talking about all things Michigan. I'm Tyler Kieft. Learn more about our program on our website, civiccentertv.com/megacast. We'll find more information on all of our partnering stations across the Great Lakes State and here in Oakland County, including My Michigan TV, and find all of our full shows and each individual segment on demand as well. civiccentertv.com/megacast is the place to go for all of that. Joining us now on the program is Dewey Steffen, the CEO and the Chief Wealth Advisor from Great Lakes Wealth. Hey, we've heard a lot lately about struggles with banks, whether it be Silicon Valley Bank or beyond, people having issues, losing a lot of money, if not all of their wealth. In those cases, those were large banks that took on a lot of venture capital. And so the question may be, well, if they're not safe in their banks, are we safe in ours? Joining us to talk about that, as well as where to put your money in today's chaotic market, is Dewey Steffen, and we appreciate having him on the show once again. Dewey, thanks for being with us.
Hey, Tyler, good morning. My pleasure. Nice to see you.
Yeah, good to see you as well. As as I mentioned, we're in some crazy times, and of late, there's been a lot of concern with Silicon Valley Bank and others that have failed or have had major issues of late, and that brings the question for everyday people like you and I, well, what about my bank? What's going on right now? What can I do? So the big question right now is our money safe? And from your perspective as someone that is an investment guru and is helping everyday people protect their money into the future. Where does that stand right now? Is our money safe in the banks?
So absolutely, the American banking system is strong. And even though there were some certain bank situations that have happened recently, the FDIC, Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, guarantees deposits up to $250,000 per account. So as long as anyone watching, anyone listening has $250,000 or less in an account, no matter what would happen to that institution, your money is safe and sound.
And that's very good news for people. As you hear about a bank failing, you immediately go back to, oh no, it's 2008 all over again. These banks are failing. The housing market's going to be having trouble. We're going to go back into a recession, and panic can easily ensue. But in these cases, especially with Silicon Valley Bank, what we've heard so much about, those were a lot of venture capitalists and big-time money organizations that had well over $250,000 in their accounts that had issues, but also they were still protected by the FDIC. And so in terms of protecting your money and putting it in the right places right now, what are financial planners and experts like you suggesting to everyday consumers as they're looking at where the markets are at, where the economy is at, and trying to employ strategies that help not only now, but also in the future, where we know the economy is going to change, the markets are going to continue to change?
Sure, absolutely. Well, a lot of it depends on your time frame, but the opportunities that are there are fantastic. A year ago, I was on your show saying cash was trash. Cash paid less than 0.5% last year. Well, guess what? Just a year later, you can now get close to 5% on your cash in money markets and high yield savings accounts. So we now say that cash is king again. And so everything that anybody does should start with that. Put all your money into a 5% high yield savings account, and then from there, look to deploy it to other places. If you have more than $250,000 that you're working with, then go find U.S. Treasuries. They're guaranteed by the full faith and credit of the U.S. government up to any amount you put in. So that would be your second option beyond money markets and savings accounts. And then the third option, which everyone should absolutely consider, are stocks. We believe that cash is king, but stocks may be your ace. Some might be a 1, but some will be that ace in a deck of cards that is the 11.
And especially right now with where particularly the stock market is at, with stock prices having gone down over the last couple of years with the economic issues we've had, certainly with the impact of inflation. What goes down in the economy eventually does go back up and vice versa. So that's why you kind of have that being the ace. But what about gold and commodities as that second option makes it so strong right behind, as you said, cash at number 1?
Yes, absolutely, Tyler. We're actually calling the investment playbook basically the deck of face cards. So real estate would actually be the jack. And then to your point, the queen would be those hard assets. That would be gold and other precious metals, as well as your traditional commodities, oil, etc. We believe we're in a commodities super cycle. That will be a fantastic investment for the next few years, in our opinion.
And so for you, as someone that is consulting with everyday people and with families that are trying to invest for their future, but also, keep some cash in their pocket today to pay their bills and other necessities and have some emergency funds for when, chaos happens in our daily life. How are you and others on your team assessing what is going on in our markets, what is going on in our economy as the variables continue to change and new things come in, new wrinkles come in and change the entire landscape seemingly every other day, every other week, every other month here in the U.S. especially? How do you and your team keep prepared so that you can help others keep prepared?
Well, again, you have to remember with whatever you're investing in or whatever your situation, you need to start with a plan. And so if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And are you investing or making a financial plan for 3 to 6 days, 3 to 6 weeks, 3 to 6 months, 3 to 6 years or longer. And so in any plan, you should be diversified, but you need to understand, again, the time that you have before you'll need those investments or the time you have to pay down that debt. That's also important in this environment. So we have 2 words we use, strategic and tactical. Strategic is your long-term focus. And long-term, we believe the stock market will continue to do what it's done the past 100 plus years, which is go up over time. And then tactically, the short term, the little changes that you need to do, the rebalancing, that may come into play based on interest rates, based on the price of those investments you are looking at, and also the times that we're in.
You can find more information and get in contact with Dewey and the team at Great Lakes Wealth by visiting their website at greatlakeswealth.us or calling them 248-378-1200, 248-378-1200, and find them as well on social media, on Facebook at Great Lakes Wealth and on Instagram at Great Lakes Wealth. You can also find them on LinkedIn for those professionals out there as well, greatlakeswealth.us. And Dewey, we talk about all of the do's in today's market and economy where we stand right now, but what about those don'ts? Because there's so many traditional ways that people may invest or people may be saving that right now are potentially minor detriments or could be major detriments, and that's also something to really be aware of and to be planning for.
Sure. Well, one major one is debt. So don't take on any bad debt. As interest rates have gone up, that has brought pain to the stock market. It has brought gain to those with cash in the bank, as we just discussed. But also your debt, your credit card debt particularly, has gone up. Your personal loan debt has gone up. So in the past, we used to say, just deal with debt, maybe pay it down, manage your debt. But now in this environment, we say delete bad debt. So that is something you do not do, is take on any unnecessary debt, especially high interest debt. Another thing that you also don't want to do is you don't want to be overly invested. A lot of our younger viewers, our younger listeners, the younger investment base, they tend to put it all into one thing, whether that's a stock like a Tesla, maybe a Bitcoin or a cryptocurrency. Our conservative investors do the opposite. They put it all into treasuries, put it all into some blue chip stock that they've had for 30 years. And that's, again, something you also don't want to do.
More information, again, can be found on greatlakeswealth.us, including ways to get in contact with Dewey and the other professionals at Great Lakes Wealth. Dewey Steffen is the CEO and Chief Investment Officer at Great Lakes Wealth, joining us on today's edition of the Megacast as we talk about where the banks are, where our money is at right now, and how to navigate all of that in the economy. And so, Dewey, as you're consulting with people, especially today, and that's something that is a conversation people are having on a day-to-day basis, on a week-to-week, month-to-month basis with their financial planners as they're looking at where they're at and where they want to be going. How does the state of our economy factor into those, especially now more than ever, where there's so much variation and there's so many other factors that are floating around, and even economists are struggling to really grasp where we're at and where we're going in the U.S. and the world markets?
Well, great question, Tyler. And we kind of like to simplify it, okay? And we recognize that there are economic cycles, there are business cycles, and there are investing cycles. And so, again, we may be headed into a recession. And we do think it will be a recession the second half of this year. But at this point, we believe it'll be what's known as a mild recession, not the Great Recession of 2008, and certainly not the Great Depression of the 1930s. So we believe that where cash is now, plus those other investment options we discussed, real estate, hard assets, stocks, along with your cash, creates an opportunity of a lifetime. If you can lock in high rates on your cash and your bonds and buy your stocks and other investments that are down from last year, maybe 20% or so, you have a long-term strategic opportunity to make investment success happen for you and your family. So don't panic, be patient, execute your plan, and prepare to profit.
More information can be found, ways to get in contact with Great Lakes Wealth by visiting their website at greatlakeswealth.us or calling them 248-378-1200, 248-378-1200 to find more information. And Dewey, it all goes back to that plan. So as you're forming your plan or you're considering a plan with a professional, what are some of those key points, especially right now, that individuals and families, and really, as you mentioned, it was interesting, those younger people who are just getting into the markets at this particular time, what should they be focusing on in those plans?
Sure, absolutely, Tyler. Thanks for asking that question. And whether you're 8 to 108, there is something that you or your guardians can do to help you make a plan. So number one, let's figure out what are we dealing with in terms of your assets and your liabilities. So let's know what we have to work with. We call that, let's take an inventory. And then we have to understand two more main things. One is, what is our risk tolerance? How do we feel about risk? And how would that impact our decisions as part of the plan? But really, that will be a subset of the next one, which is how much time do we have? Do you have, again, 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 months, 3 years, maybe 30 years? So the amount of time you have, the amount of risk you're willing to take, and the amount of assets and liabilities you have, those would be the three main factors to start with.
GreatLakesWealth.us is their website. We're joined by their Chief Investment Officer and CEO, Dewey Steffen, on today's edition of the Megacast. There's so much information out there. There's so many things to consider about the markets, about our investments, about our financial present and future. And Dewey, have a couple more minutes with you before we'll need to wrap things up for today. Any other lasting advice or other topics we haven't discussed that would be important to keep in consideration at this time?
Well, make sure, again, you do your work. And as we said before, don't panic, be patient, execute your plan, and prepare to profit. And so we have resources on our website, greatlakeswealth.us, that are free for anyone in our community. We also have a podcast, the What Do We Do podcast, which has episodes on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, iTunes, where we talk about all of these topics, anything from, investing for success to crazy opportunities in cryptocurrency, to the gold and precious metals. We also interview leaders in our community that give their opinions on what's happening. So again, do your research, pay attention, but please seek out professional guidance as well. This is not a time to be going alone. We're also into tax season. April 18th is the tax filing deadline. So part of all this plan may also include your tax situation. So it's exciting times. Just be ready for the wild ride.
Well, Dewey, we appreciate you joining us to help kind of understand better where we're at in this wild ride and where we can go going forward. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks for having me, as always. Appreciate it. Have a great day.
Always appreciate having Dewey and the team from Great Lakes Wealth join us on the show. Always an enthusiastic look into some of these topics that can be a little bit complicated, a little bit stressful for us out in the world each and every day as we manage the economy that we're sitting in and all of our money and our savings and trying to set up ourselves and our families for a great future. All these questions, it's great to have someone here with us to enthusiastically answer them, to clear up some of that confusion and give us some words of advice to look forward. So appreciate Dewey joining us on the show. We've also recently had Tom Griffor from Great Lakes Wealth to talk a little bit more about the tax season implications and ways that you can use your tax return to help build your financial base or take care of issues like debt in the future. That's on our webpage at civiccentertv.com/megacast and find that on demand. Or just go to civiccentertv.com, go to our on demand page and search for Great Lakes Wealth, and you'll see all those recent interviews and others we've had in the past with Dewey Steffen and the team over there. Always appreciate their time. We'll take a break on the Megacast. On the other side, we'll be joined by one of over 300 charities and nonprofits supported on the Share Detroit platform. Stay tuned. This is the Megacast.
I'm Steve Eisenman of the Detroit Red Wings, and I think every child in Michigan deserves a safe, healthy, and happy childhood. Can we build a state where children trust Michigan isn't just a name, but something our kids believe? Please support Children Trust Michigan as the voice for children and families by visiting the website to learn more.
Wondering what to say to someone who's been sexually assaulted or abused?
I believe you. I'm so sorry this happened. It's not your fault.
Confidential and anonymous help is available at the Michigan Sexual Assault Hotline. Connect with us 24/7. Call 855-VOICES-4 or text 1-866-238-1454 for help. Learn more at michigan.gov/voices4.
Like what you see? Beautiful works of art, masterworks of metal, and accomplishments of artistry will be on display near you. All kinds of artists from all walks of life come together to celebrate their skill and appreciate their work's beauty. Hot Works presents the 2023 Orchard Lake Fine Art Show. Stop by July 29th and 30th between 2 and 10 p.m. between Powers and Daly off of Orchard Lake Road.
Now that the vaccine is available for children 5 and up, why do you recommend it?
Kids are part of the community and they can spread COVID.
We're seeing both healthy children getting sick from the virus as well as children with underlying health conditions.
They can easily bring the virus home to other people that are vulnerable and make them sick as well.
This vaccine can change that and keep children safe.
It's essential that your children get vaccinated to protect them, to protect your families, and to protect those in the community around you.
In the face of COVID-19, staying healthy is important.
And now the same is true in the face of flu.
Influenza has the power to infect millions.
But it's easy to protect yourself, your family, and your community.
The flu vaccine is safe and effective. And with COVID-19 still around,
it's essential. Together we can face flu season head on.
Visit michigan.gov/flu.
Many people are feeling overwhelmed and struggling with mental wellness these days. So be kind to your mind. Give yourself permission to breathe. Share your feelings. You are not alone. Have hope. Talk to a Stay Well counselor for free confidential help 24/7 through the COVID-19 hotline.
Ronnie started doing prescription pills at the age of 15, and by 19, he died. If your child is struggling with drug use, try not to be too proud to reach out for help. Don't be worried about what the neighbor will think or your family. Just get your child the help they need. Sometimes it's the hard road to take, but the hard road is nothing compared to living with the fact that your child is no longer with you.
There's hope and help at drugfree.org.
Watch Civic Center TV with our brand new live captions. To turn on live captions, go to civiccentertv.com and click Watch Live. In your web browser, click on the Options tab in the top right and find the Accessibilities tab. Then just switch on live captions to heighten your enjoyment of our local programming. Thank you so much for watching Civic Center TV.
Welcome back to the Megacast, our live daily TV, radio, and streaming show talking about all things Michigan and Oakland County. I'm Tyler Kieft. You can always stay up to date with us on our local news page and on our Megacast page at civiccentertv.com. Find all the latest news and information right here in Oakland County, our top headlines each and every day on our local news page, and then on civiccentertv.com/Megacast. That's where you'll find all of our full shows and each individual segment on demand, as well as more information about all of our partnering stations all across Oakland County. Joining us now on the program is one of over 300 charities and nonprofits supported on the Share Detroit platform, and that is Gigi's Playhouse. We have 3 individuals from Gigi's Playhouse with us: Amy Tyrell, their vice president; Kathleen Tynes, the program coordinator, as well as self-advocate Luke Tyrell with us on today's program. Thank you all for being with us.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, glad to have the 3 of you on today's show. Amy, let's start with you. Tell us about some of the historical background and the mission of Gigi's Playhouse.
You bet. Thank you. Gigi's Playhouse was opened 20 years ago this year, and it was started by a really strong woman and her family by the name of Nancy Gianni. And she saw the need. She created a play group for her child who had Down syndrome, who has Down syndrome in the Chicagoland area. And when people found out about it, they wanted to be a part of it. And her great idea and gathering families together and supporting each other really took off. So the mission is, it's very simple. It's to change the way the world sees Down syndrome and to send a global acceptance of all.
And sticking with you, Amy, and Luke. Let's go on to Luke. You know where the name Gigi in the organization comes from?
Yeah. So the creator of Gigi's is Nancy Gianni, and her daughter is named Gigi. That's why we named the Playhouse. Our location has been open for 4 years now, but Gigi was at our grand opening 4 years ago in January.
We call Gigi Gianni the Gigi.
And so Kathleen, moving on to you, the program coordinator, Kathleen Tynes, also with us on today's edition of the Megacast to talk about Gigi's Playhouse. I can give some information on the sort of programs or other resources that are provided by this nonprofit.
Sure. Thank you so much. We don't let the name Playhouse mislead you. We are a center for individuals with Down syndrome of all ages. We have programs for infants all the way through adulthood. We have community programs. We have one-on-one programs. We have physical therapy, occupational therapy-based programs, speech and language, tutoring. We have a little something for everybody at every age.
And Kathleen, just sticking with you for a moment, how can people support this mission and support some of these programs, whether, of course, be through financial means, but also through their time and through expertise?
Sure. So the financials help a lot. We have to keep the lights on and the doors open, right? And allow for a place for our participants to come. And the way that we do that is through generous donations, fundraisers like Gigi Fit Acceptance Challenge, and grants and sponsorships. Our participants and their families never have to pay a single dime to receive any of our programs, resources, or services. No insurance, no waivers, anything like that. It is always and will always be completely free. So we definitely depend on the generosity of our community. And speaking of community, we depend on the community volunteers to come in and help us run our programs. And that's the way that we're going to change the way the world views individuals with Down syndrome, is if we get people to come in and work with our participants and see what they can achieve and see how great they are. One of Nancy's first big hurdles was that when Gigi was born, all of the medical professionals came in with somber faces and gave her condolences instead of congratulations. Could you imagine giving birth and then immediately all the medical professionals saying, "Oh, I'm so sorry your child has Down syndrome," instead of celebrating the wonderful, miraculous joy that you now have in your life? So we get those Wayne State med students to come in and volunteer at our Playhouse so that the first people that our families interact with now have a new and better understanding of what individuals with Down syndrome are capable of.
We're joined on the program by Kathleen Tynes, program coordinator at Gigi's Playhouse. Additionally, joining us on the program is Amy Tyrell, vice president of Gigi's Playhouse, as well as self-advocate Luke Tyrell on today's program. One of over 300 charities and nonprofits supported on the Share Detroit platform. Going back to you, Amy, as we talked to Kathleen about fundraising, about donations, and the impact that has on an organization like Gigi's Playhouse. You have a fun event coming up this summer. It's coming up in June, your 5K. What can you tell us about that event and, of course, how people can participate?
Beautiful. So if you've noticed, Luke and I have on our Gigi's Acceptance Challenge, and Kathleen does too. These are the t-shirts from last year. This is our 5th annual Acceptance Challenge. And for Sunday, June 25th, we have a really fun morning planned. You can walk or run a 5K. You can walk or run 1 mile. You can bring your young child or ambulatory at whatever level and do the Dash for Down syndrome, which is the most beautiful thing you've ever seen. We also spotlight our fitness classes that day, and we have our instructor who will lead whoever wants to join a sampling of what we do with our participants for free. And it's remarkable. It's located at Covington High School, which is on the corner of Covington and Corton, or 16 Mile. You can register by going to Gigi's Playhouse.org/Detroit. And we are hosting exercise events before to help people stay healthy and be fit. And the morning of the 25th, that Sunday, will be a day to remember. And last year we had around 300 participants, and we expect even more.
More information can be found, including ways to participate in the 5K, by visiting their website at gigisplayhouse.org. You can also find more information on Gigi's Playhouse and over 300 other charities and nonprofits in our local area by visiting sharedetroit.org. Sharedetroit.org, the place to go for that, or directly to their website, gigisplayhouse.org, for more info. And find them also on social media, on Facebook and on Instagram at Gigi's Playhouse, on Twitter at Gigi's_Playhouse as well. Luke, what do you wish people knew more about Down syndrome?
I don't really think about having Down syndrome. I want people to see me as the person I am. I am a good brother, a good son, and a hard worker. I love running songs, acting, and hanging out with my friends. If you haven't met someone with Down syndrome, you should come to our walk or fitness classes on Sunday, June 25th, and you will meet some of the best people out there.
Sunday, June 25th, a walk, run, 5K over 1 mile, and other activities as well will be happening at Covington High School, June 25th. That's a Sunday. To join Amy, Gigi, Kathleen, and others from Gigi's Playhouse and support their organization as well. Amy, as I mentioned earlier, you're on social media, on Facebook and Instagram at Gigi's Playhouse, on Twitter at Gigi's_Playhouse. But you've taken over social media with a certain hashtag that people can go to just to simply learn more information, keep up to date on everything you're doing every single day, including that walk run on Sunday, June 25th. What is that hashtag, and why did it come down to that one?
It is Generation G, and it is about acceptance and accepting people for where they are. And when you see that hashtag, you have to think of Gigi's and all the things that we do every day to make sure that people with Down syndrome are accepted. Oftentimes people will draw it with a heart on their hand, and I meant to do that ahead of this today, but that didn't happen. But when you see Generation G, it is us, and we're trying to keep it simple so people think of us top of mind and come to our programs and get to know, as Luke said, some of the coolest people on the planet.
On social media all across, you can find more information and participate. Hashtag Generation G. And you can also find Gigi's Playhouse on Facebook and Instagram at Gigi's Playhouse, Twitter, Gigi's_Playhouse, and you can find more information on the organization either at sharedetroit.org or by going directly to Gigi's Playhouse's website at gigisplayhouse.org. Kathleen, Amy, and Luke, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Gigi's Playhouse can always be found on gigisplayhouse.org. You can join them for their 5K walk and run event on Sunday, June 25th at Covington High School. That is going to do it for today's edition of the Megacast. As always, you can keep up to date with us if you're just tuning in on our website on civiccentertv.com/megacast. We always invite you also to join us for our live shows Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Big thank you to our guests today, as well as our crew at the studios of My Michigan TV and Civic Center TV. Until next time, take care of each other, and we'll see you very soon.